Hello students, welcome in our today's online lecture, and I am Anita Goswami, Assistant Professor of English at Government College GCRChuru. Our today's topic is a poem written by Edmund Spenser. The title of our poem is One Day I Wrote Her Name Upon the Strand. So basically this poem has been taken from the sonnet sequence written by Spenser, and the title of sonnet sequence is Amority. And what does amority mean? Actually, it means little loves or little cupids. So we can say it is a collection of love songs which is written by a lover for his beloved or bride. So one day I wrote her name upon the strand. It is a Spenserian sonnet. So let's have a brief intro of the background of this poem. As we know, Sir Edmund Spenser, he is a well-known Elizabethan poet, and he is credited with the creation of an eponymous sonnet style, which is a kind of taking his place along with the other luminaries such as Petrarch, Shakespeare and Milton. As we know that there are different types of sonnet style, as Petrarchan sonnets, Shakespearean sonnets and Miltonic sonnets. So the Spenserian sonnet was featured in the poet's epic poem, which is titled as The Fairy Queen. So this our present poem is also a Spenserian sonnet, which is referred Spenserian sonnet by featuring that it has 3 quatrains and a couplet. What does it mean by Spenserian sonnet? That Spenserian sonnet is that contains 3 quatrains, and quatrain means a stanza of 4 lines, and a couplet means a stanza of 2 lines. A couplet consists of 2 lines, 2 poetic lines. So like Shakespearean sonnet, it has the same features, but a slight difference between Shakespearean sonnet and Spenserian sonnet is that regarding the rhyme scheme of these sonnets. As we find that in Shakespearean sonnets, the rhyme scheme is A B A B C D C D E F E F G G. But in Spenserian sonnets, the rhyme scheme is A B A B, B C B C, C D C D and E E. So it is actually here it is formed by 3 interlocked quatrains and a couplet. So the rhyme scheme is shifted to the other stanza by interlocking connection, and whereas in our Shakespearean sonnet we have independent rhyme scheme, and this sonnet, One Day I Wrote Her Name Upon the Strand, it has been taken from Spenser's sonnet sequence entitled Amority, and here the speaker addresses indirectly his beloved, attempting to convince her that their love will live eternally. So actually this is a kind lyric poem or lyric sonnet, love sonnet, which is broken up into 4 parts and with a couplet. And here the poet speaks of his trying or his attempts to immortalize the woman he loves by writing her name in the sand. So basically it is a love poem where we find the theme of love, or what kind of love the poet is addressing here, that he uh, denotes the love uh, between him and his beloved is a kind of immortal love, kind of denotes about his immortal relationship. Actually, he is here tries to challenge the god or the nature by writing her name in a place that is going only to despair his time. So let's begin the text of this poem. What the speaker says here: one day I wrote her name upon the strand, but came the waves and washed it away. Again I wrote it with the second hand, but came the tide and made my pens spray. So notice here the rhyme scheme at the end of the line, at the end of each line. In the first line, the last word is strand, and in the second line it is away, and third line again hand, and in the fourth line pray. So we find here that the first the ending word of the first line rhymes to the ending word of third line, and likewise the ending word of the second line rhymes to the ending word of the fourth line. So here we can make it like strand A, away B, and hand, that is again rhymes with the first line ending word. So A and B, A B A B. So what here the speaker wants to convey is that when in the beginning he says that one day the speaker wrote the name of his beloved on some sea area, or on the sand in sea areas or sea beach, where he find that every time when he writes the name of his beloved, then waves come, and waves came and it washed the name of his beloved. So again he repeats this his act of writing of his beloved name on the sand, and then again tide came and made my pains his prey. So the speaker is actually doing a futile activity. So by referring to the tide washing the name away, he is expressing a mental and spiritual immortality, and also referring the time, and that eventually we will die at one point of time in our life. So in this quatrain we find that speaker here is reporting about that he had written his beloved's name upon the sandy seashore. Of course, then water rushed over this sandy name and vanished it to the name. But then again he tries the same vain activity, futile activity, and yet once again the waves rolled in and erased the name of his beloved. So here the speaker seems to address an unknown party. It seems that he is addressing to someone who is nearby him. Maybe it could be his beloved, and then he is actually speaking about to his beloved that he wants to convey his love feeling towards his beloved when he describes about some past incident of his life. Then what happened? What was the reply or response of his beloved? Next he says, in inverted commas, when men said see, that Durst in vain essay, a mortal thing so to immortalize, for I myself shall lie to this decay. And eke my name be wiped out likewise. So in the next quatrain, we find here the vain effort, the futile effort made by the poet or the speaker, that when he is doing this kind of futile activity, his beloved is noticing him, and what was the response of his beloved? She said that vain man. She addressed to her lover as vain man. Why? Because he is doing some nonsense activity or futile activity, that she feels that what are you doing is a kind of a futile activity, that dust in vain essay, that goes in vain. And in a way, his beloved is trying to make a mortal thing to be immortalized, to be immortalized, or so. Here it seems that the beloved is much more realistic in her attitude, in her belief, and she directly addressed to her lover that what he is trying to do is going to futile. It doesn't make any sense, and for I myself shall like to this decay. She is denoting that the speaker's beloved tells him that not to attempt to make these kind of impossible things, because that is to write her name on the beach, on sand. She in a way reminds the speaker that nothing on the earth remains forever. I myself shall like to this decay, that nothing on the earth remains forever. Not only her name, but also she herself will one day vanish from the shore of life. So her name will be wiped out, means she will die at some point of time. So in a way, she is making the harsh statement that time is cruel and death is certain in our life, that death is inevitable. She calls him vain man for just trying to overcome the unattainable deed to make the mortal and immortal. So this has been expressed by the speaker here. Now moving ahead, what was the response after this? What was the response of the lover here? That he said, "Not so, quote I. I said, not so." The speaker is saying that this is not like this. He conveys his idea, his belief that let baser things devise to die in dust, but you shall live by fame. My verse your virtues rare shall eternize, and in the heavens write your glorious name. In response, what does the speaker say? The speaker admits that everything has to die and perish from the earth except some virtues. Now he is praising the virtues of his beloved. He says that he does know that everything has to die, everything has to vanish, everything has an end, and it's, but the virtues of his beloved will be remain forever, and her virtues and her name will live in eternized form in the eternal. So, and in the heavens write your glorious name. In this line, it seems that in a way he is making a kind of promise to his beloved. He promises her to eternalize her through his verse, his creative writing. How can he make her eternalize or immortal? Through, it is through her, it is through his writing, his verse, his poetry. So her name will be glorified, her virtues and their love will live for ages and ages through this sonnet, through his poetic creation. When as death shall all the world subdue, our love shall live and later life renew. So, when he says, when everything on the earth will surrender in front of the cruel time and death, their love will rise from that level and live an eternal life. So, every time this sonnet is read and recited, their love will be renewed. Their love shall live forever, and it shall remain. It will remain after their death. Life after their death, it will be renewed. So, in a way, the important aspect we can derive here that during the Elizabethan love sonnets traditionally told the story of men in love with an attainable woman. But here Spenser's sonnets, from his sonnet sequence Sonority, actually gives a kind of optimistic look at love. And in this particular sonnet, it seems that he is making a kind of claim that his love will be immortal through verse. So this poem, this sonnet stands as successful sonnet because it presents an optimistic view on love through graphic imagery and through a realistic story. Spenser takes the success of the work a step further because he uses the form, the rhyme, the personification, or the alliteration in the sonnet to mirror the imagery or story of this sonnet. And actually he is not mentioned her, the outer beauty of his beloved, but he is talking about the inner beauty, the inner virtues of his beloved, and by immortalizing her virtues through his verse, the poet is celebrating the importance of spirituality, the goodness of human beings. So here his prime focus was on the love, also the love for which the love which is not based on the physicality but based on the spiritual aspect of their love. So the whole poem is very harmonious in terms of rhythm, and it is written in iambic pentameter and it discusses actually about the transitory world, the ways to make the love undying. So here the poet proves to be very successful, bringing the two contradictory forms of poetry in same place with a magnificent harmony. This poem is lyrical as well as dramatic at the same time. So it is a beautiful lyric which is maintained in the poem. Lyric is maintained in poem also, and dramatic situation is created by the dialogue which is going on between the speaker and his beloved. So we have seen here that the poet also has used so many rhetorical devices in this poem. If we talk about paradox in this poem, the paradox is found in this sonnet where he quotes that moral things so to immortalize. So here we can find that the paradox has been used by the poet. We find here two terms which are contradictory in nature, mortal and immortal. So there is close relationship but having contradictory meanings. So after looking this, it is obvious that this still makes a sense that it contains two contradictory words. Spenser also used symbol in the poem when in the first line when he says that one day I wrote her name upon the strand. So probably the most dominant symbol is in the act of writing the name of his beloved in the sand. So the act of writing is itself becomes a symbol of a man's inherent desire to eternalize his being or to be remembered forever. So this is a very powerful, strong symbol which has been used by the poet. And again we also find the symbolic element in the waves, and the waves and their act of washing his writing away also symbolize that waves can be symbolic of the inevitability of time or nature, the circle of nature, that it might be understood as that with the time everyone is forgotten and we cannot deceive nature or death. If we talk about that in the line when he says death shall all the world subdue, we find here that the poet actually the poet is making the use of personification by personifying the death here. Actually he is treated death as a person who can surpass humanity. So in the lines, but came the waves and washed away, here waves also act like humans who wash something away that do not want to have or be reminded of any longer. So another sample of personification is found in the poem where he quotes that but came the tide and made my pines spray. So here tide also acts as a human being. So personification is used by the poet in wave, tide and death shall all the words subdue. So in death as well. And here we also find a very powerful literary device used by the poet, that is metaphor. When he says but came the tide and made my pains spring, so actually it means that metaphor is a conventional vehicle that denote that implement some quality, or we can say as that my pains, as the poet has used here the phrase my pains, is somehow and example that my pains, his prey. So my pains is denoting the act of writing by the poem, uh, which is kind of very hard work, that hard work done by the poet, that it is the metaphor has been used by the poet that pains denotes the act of writing by the poet. And the as for the form of this poem, as we have already talked about, that this is a Spenserian sonnet. Spenserian sonnet is 14 lines poem divided in 3 quatrains and a couplet, and rhyme scheme is A B A B, B C B C, C E C E, C D C D, and E E. So this is the rhyme scheme of Spenserian sonnet, a slightly different with the Shakespearean sonnet. And if we talk about the theme of this poem, as we have talked earlier, that it talks about it is a poem which expresses optimistic point of view of the speaker. So as here the poet speaks of the struggle of the poet to immortalize his beloved, the woman, through his writing, through his sonnets or songs which he has written in praise of his beloved's virtues. And so I hope you have understood, students. So this is enough for today. Now we will meet in our next class. Thanks.